Space, the final frontier. And obviously, we know what we're gonna about to say. I forget the rest of the sentence, but obviously, we're talking about Star Trek. Obviously, I'm not gonna talk about too much because yeah, it's a big franchise, but it's also not everybody's into it. I understand. Logically, I got into Star Trek when I was young, and then I kind of got interested in it because it does get boring. Not always boring. It's just like it's kind of what it is. Like if you don't like a certain episode, just skip to the next or something. Or like if you find it's kind of like a soap opera, but it's not really soap opera. It's kind of more like a space western kind of soap opera, and in a way like space opera. You know, we're gonna talk about the original. I think if we were to go by order, we can talk about the original series. The original series itself had some interesting episodes. Regarding like I think the Tribbles one I think I know about. There was also like an Android episode too. And also despite how good the series was, I think we have to thank one man for it. And that's Gene Roddenberry. Without him, we wouldn't have Star Trek. And obviously, if you didn't know, actually no, he was. Okay, yeah, he was. He did a lot of good things with Star Trek. He created it, obviously, but did you know that the first captain of the USS Enterprise, the guy who played Kirk, William Shatner, is Canadian? So obviously, you have to understand. You have to get familiar with all the greatest of the. Now you say there's three people that's starring actually, but it's more than that actually. There's a lot of like characters. Like the main crew is the one that that we don't talk about. You see how much they make per episode too. I mean that's a lot of money, but as of now it would be like 1.4 million, maybe more. Ran for like almost 3 years. It was a very good show for its time. But a lot of good actors, of course, and rest in peace to a lot of them, obviously. And also it gives a good backstory of each character too, when they're born or where they're from or whatever. I mean, William Shatner and all these actors did a great job doing their roles for their characters especially, and yeah, females did dress up a little differently. Yeah, like that probably. Usually it's kind of like their start. Usually it's either this one or that one. Obviously, there's a lot of episodes. Like season one is like the big one. Naked Time. It's just there's a lot of like shows, episodes you can literally remember if you go like. I mean, the Tribbles one is the one that you remember too, or like the one where you have Gary Mitchell becoming a god or something, which I think I watched that one if I remember too. And it's kind of crazy to kind of think about like all these episodes and how you kind of have to deal. Yeah, Trouble with the Tribbles is what I was talking about. One of the more iconic episodes. But there's one where they went back in time to the '60s or something, which is kind of interesting, even though it takes place during the '60s. Although the show was being made during the '60s, so I mean, sorry, but honestly, the show's not bad, and it's not like the best, but at the time, it was actually a really good show. Gene Roddenberry, made good things about the show, especially like having a black woman on television. That was very important. Having to, I think honestly, like it's great to have people. I mean, it's not just like just have diversity, like having like different races on the crew, and it's very great to have that. But also having to introduce aliens like Vulcans and stuff like that. It's very, I think honestly, and also when they introduced Klingons, they weren't really good looking at the time, but they had to do what they had to do back in the 60s. So I think the show probably gets like, I don't want to say it's a goat because it's not. To me, it's amazing, but but obviously it would have been a goat if it had to be. But and then we got TNG, which I think I know where's TNG. TNG is like, to be honest, TNG is probably like S tier or God tier, greatest of all time. I like TNG for a lot of reasons. It's not just like introducing. You have a Klingon, you have a guy with a visor who's blind. You have basically all kinds of characters here. I mean, you have an android. You have someone who can be able to read people's minds and stuff. Like, I'm talking about the android. And then you got like basically the second command, William Riker, and then you got which I was talking about the guy with the visor. I was talking about Geordi. I just remember all their names, so I'm just coming back to it. Beverly Crusher, Picard, obviously, great man. That, I mean, he did technically originally didn't want children. He did say that. The character said he didn't want children, and then he ended up having a kid. Spoilers if you didn't watch Picard. Then you wouldn't know, because I ended up figuring that he ended up having a kid with Beverly. But the fun thing, it's kind of interesting. So Beverly, okay, I can talk about Beverly here. So Beverly, has a kid. Obviously, got Wes in the show, but but the father dies, and then next thing you know, she has a relationship with John Luke, and eventually at some point she does have a son with him, and it's quite interesting to know that. So yeah, that stuff can happen in real life. What if you had a kid? You have a kid, and then next thing you know, your boyfriend or husband dies, and then next thing you know, you get with another man that you've known for a long time, and then have a kid with that man. Just imagine like that happened to me or something. I mean, I don't know why I think about that. But Picard was a B, I guess. I mean, it had one good season. I might even put it as meh. But honestly, season 3 was like the best season out of the 3. Season 1 kind of was okay. Season 2 was shit. But honestly, it's gonna get a B. It might even go meh if I wanted to, but it just, I don't know what to call B, so I just kind of put B anyway, so. Deep Space Nine is basically like, you have like Benjamin Sisko, and he's quite a different captain from Picard. The captains are usually different from each other. Different personalities, different race, I mean, and I wasn't really big on Deep Space Nine or DS9. But I couldn't try. I tried to get into it, and it just wasn't really fitting for me. Like, yeah, I know it's about being on a space station and everything, but I'll have to like eventually one day when I watch it, I'll try to like figure it out. But right now, it's gonna go meh for me. I don't think any of the shows are the worst of all time. I'm gonna say Nemesis was really bad, but I feel like it's leaning towards meh because you see, Tom Hardy wasn't bad as Picard's clone. Yeah, this is one of Tom Hardy's roles, by the way, because if you don't know what Tom Hardy is, he played Bane and other characters, Venom, of course, Eddie Brock. But yeah, I mean that's that's all I want to say about that movie, because obviously we probably also know what happens to Data too. Data dies, but then comes back, but with basically other personalities of before and lore and whatever. I don't know. Insurgents is not great. I really loved First Contact because I like the idea of time traveling and then stopping the Borg and stuff like that. If you don't know what the Borg is, they're scary. Actually, they truly get defeated in Picard. Another spoiler. If you didn't know already. But honestly, the Borg are basically are advanced in technology. They can simulate people, and then And basically, once you become simulated, you become one of them, and it's bad. I'm not kidding. But honestly, I think this the first contact I would say is amazing. I loved it. Um, Great movie. Gives us some history, of course, with one of the characters that was responsible for helping create Starfleet and the Federation and everything. Um, Zephram Cochrane, with warping and stuff like that. Um, and then I'm gonna put Generations. I'm gonna put Generations as like goats. I like Generations a lot. Great movie. Great story between two captains, and unfortunately, we end up losing one of them, and obviously we know who we lose. And I'm looking at him, and that's Kirk, man. Unfortunately, we lose Kirk, which I know I'm saying spoilers, but if you want to know how he dies, you got to see how he dies if you watch the movie. Um, and we got like the other movies. We have the animations. The Star Trek animated series reminds me of like the 1967 Spider-Man show, but I'm gonna put at B as well, just for that reason. Star Trek One or Star Trek: The Most Picture wasn't as good, and it's not like it doesn't deserve the amazing, but it's a good story, I guess, but it just wasn't memorable in my opinion. The fucking the outfits were shitty, so I'm gonna put it like probably like either I'm gonna say like a B. I might even put it in meh because it doesn't really deserve that. I know I should. I'm gonna put DS9 down up here. I'm gonna put this. It's kind of enjoyable, but it just like doesn't really fit. It just doesn't really suit me. The second movie's even better than that. Second movie's is go tier. It's worth watching, literally, and it gave us better uniforms, everything, and Khan, of course. Khan, we know he is in the original series, which, yeah, I mean, pretty much. Um, I also am gonna say this, but I know this is a underrated show, but I really wish there was more fucking seasons to it. And honestly, I'm talking about Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise. This show's underrated, and I think it deserves the GOAT just because I might even put it amazing, but like at the same time, I love that shit. I love this show, and obviously it deserved more than what it has. I think just taking place during the 2150s, it's pretty good. Obviously, like in basically like somewhat of 100 plus years of our time, and crazy to think about that. I think Star Trek 3 was okay. Um, I'm gonna put Star Trek 3 probably amazing. Probably, I mean, yeah, it was cool of the idea of Genesis and all these things, and of course, it's unfortunate to see the loss for Kirk. Kirk losing his son, it's so devastating. But also, because in the second one he's introduced to his lover, and I'm pretty sure son, because I'm. But in the third one, he loses his son, and it just gets really worse for him. Um, and then we have the fourth movie, which okay. The fourth movie probably belongs. Actually, this is the fifth movie. Never mind. Where's the fourth movie? Um, yeah, the fourth movie belongs probably either a B. Sorry for the multiple cuts. But Star Trek 4 belongs definitely, I would say, probably a B tier. Solid story, I like it. I understand why they had the time travel back in time with the Bounty, which is which is a Klingon ship. I almost said Romulan, but obviously they had to use this ship to. It's either Romulan or Klingon, doesn't matter. But honestly, they had to use this ship to travel back in time, to do something about the whales and to save the damn friggin' Earth. I know, sounds ridiculous, but I understand why they did that and why they had to save their own planet. Star Trek 6 had a very interesting thing about it. I'll put 6. I haven't really. Actually, no. I haven't watched. Actually, should I put another tier? Yeah, let's go create another tier. Because I haven't seen 6 yet. I haven't finished 5 at all, but. Um, obviously, I haven't watched. There's some shows I haven't watched that I really need to get to. Like Discovery's in here. Um, Strange New Worlds is really good too. I think honestly, well, it's really good for the first season, but I think the second season are they? I think they're planning on introducing Khan, which I'm not sure if they are, but dude, fuck, like Captain Pike. I mean, that's great to have a series with Captain Pike, and I think that's perfect to have that. I think it's really nice to have something to do with Captain Pike and Spock. But honestly, I'm gonna say I haven't watched. Voyager I tried to watch as well, but I think honestly it's really good for having a female captain, and obviously very important. I think honestly I'm gonna put the show in amazing because I really like the idea of having to explore new places and stuff like that, and especially in the Delta Quadrant or the Delta Quadrant, I think that's what it's called. And because they didn't know where the fuck where they are, but obviously they had to find. Okay, so sorry about the jump cuts. It's just shit's just happening with me. Lower Decks is probably worth a watch. It has the kind of the animation style of Rick and Morty, and I think it's really good for like beginners of Star Trek fans if they really not really want to watch any of this, and if they prefer watching something that's way better animated and better worth watching, and they're just new to Star Trek. Go watch this. Go watch this. This is worth watching for you. If you find the rest of the stuff kind of boring, this is more fun for you. Lower Decks is worth watching and worth it. If you want to watch the parody or the one Star Trek, well, it has a kind of a Star Trek feel show, but it's on Disney Plus called Orville. Go watch that. But I need to watch this one. I think I watched these 3, and I'm pretty sure I watched 5. But the problem was with 5, I haven't finished it. So like, for now, I'm gonna put 5 as like kind of a meh, as a, like it's not the worst of all time, but it's definitely meh right now. I need to finish Star Trek. Like, I need to finish all of them. I haven't even watched all of them. Star Trek 2009 was really good. I like the reboot, or I like the Kelvin timeline really much. I'm gonna say the first movie, amazing. Second movie is goats, and then this movie is just like B tier. Literally, I think honestly it's not as bad as everybody thinks, but honestly I think I talked enough about Star Trek already. And honestly, I understand people get bored of their minds talking about me talking about Kirk, Picard, or even Spock or whatever. But honestly, you know, it makes us Star Trek also gives us character development and a lot of things, um, and obviously, yeah. I mean, it's not like Star Wars, right? Um, I mean, Star Trek and Star Wars have a lot of content, but I think Star Wars is starting to get too much content compared to Star Trek. I think, or maybe they're both equal. So I'm gonna say this as a final like farewell before I decide to end the video. Okay, actually, I can't even do it. I was just trying. Live long and prosper. Yeah, live long and prosper.